Welcome. We are absolutely thrilled that you are joining us on this journey to learn neurofeedback. You are attending Neurofeedback Foundations, and this is Module 1. You will be hearing from Robert Gurney, a pioneer in neurofeedback, Catherine Hendricks, and myself, Virginia Hatch-Pigott. Let's get started. So what you are going to learn in this course, what neurofeedback is and is not, and why it is so valuable, and for whom is it so valuable. You're going to learn about the history of neurofeedback, basic brain anatomy and physiology, EEG banded frequencies, the necessary equipment and supplies for neurofeedback, where to purchase the equipment and supplies, how to obtain a QEEG brain map, EEG artifacts and how to minimize them, how to build neurofeedback protocols, how to run neurofeedback sessions, how to document neurofeedback progress, how to get certified as a neurofeedback technician or practitioner, an overview of how to read QEEG brain maps, and finally, how to become QEEG certified. This is a lot, and this is why we have developed this program. Taking a QEEG certification course or even a neurofeedback certification course before having a solid foundation in exactly what this modality is and getting your hands dirty and using it is like taking calculus before taking Algebra 1, geometry, Algebra 2, or trig. So we are absolutely thrilled you are here because we want nothing more than for you to be absolutely successful in this endeavor. So it's important here to note who this program is for. So first and foremost, this is for professionals who are desiring to integrate neurofeedback into their mental health practice for the very first time. It is also going to be an amazing program for established mental health clinics that are already using neurofeedback to introduce their newly hired professionals to neurofeedback. In addition, established neurofeedback practices that are desiring a standard introductory training program for new technicians will find this course very useful. We think that it would be much more beneficial for the learning experience if you heard from each of your teachers in this course a little bit about themselves and their journey into neurofeedback. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Robert Gurney.
Hello, I'm Bob Gurney. I'm director of the ADD Clinic and Scottsdale Neurofeedback Institute in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I want to tell you just a little bit about my background. I was born in San Francisco, California, and grew up in San Jose. I went to school, undergraduate school at the University of California at Berkeley. And then for quite a while, I'd been wanting to go in the Peace Corps. So I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Panama, where I taught agriculture and worked in community development and health and nutrition. And then went to the University of Chicago to get a degree in clinical social work. And after that, I went to the University of New Mexico and got a degree in cultural anthropology, which has actually had lots of applications to doing clinical social work and counseling and psychology. I worked with children and adolescents for quite a while and developed an ADD clinic. It was just clear that there was a lack of services for children and adults with ADD back 30 years ago. So set up a clinic specializing in that, and went to all the workshops and learned about ADD and how to treat it, and developed a state-of-the-art program for that. Later, I wanted to learn more about biofeedback, so I went to the Menninger Institute. That was the leading facility for teaching about biofeedback, to learn more about that. And when they found out I ran an ADD clinic, they said, we're teaching you about neurofeedback, which kind of shocked me. I'd never heard about it. And I certainly didn't want to tinker with the brain. So I said, no, I'll pass on that. But they said, well, learn it and don't use it, but at least you'll know about it. And so I did. I learned about neurofeedback then. And then kind of just kept track of the research. And all the research I saw, no matter where it was coming from, was very, very positive. So I got more and more interested. And then at a workshop on a test we used called the TOVA in LA, I ended up sitting between two people that were leaders in the country with neurofeedback. And I was impressed with their honesty and their character and their stories about the success they were seeing with brain map-based neurofeedback. So decided I'd go train with a couple of the world experts, and did Stephen Stockdale in Colorado and Joel Lubar in Knoxville, Tennessee, and got very persuaded that this made a lot of sense and was a good direction to go. And right at the beginning, there was a conference in Scottsdale, the International Society for Neurofeedback and Research. In 1995, had their meeting in Scottsdale. So I went to that, and again, was even more persuaded that this was an alternative I needed to add to the treatment that we were doing. Many didn't want medication for ADD, psychostimulants. And then I decided better to bring the experts to Scottsdale than me go see all the experts, because that was my goal. So I put on 40 workshops or so where I brought all the world leaders to Scottsdale and invited everyone to come. So we'd have 30 or 40 people at a conference. And I got to spend extra time at lunch and dinner and transportation with all these folks, where I was able to learn that much more through side stories and stuff. So we made neurofeedback an integral part of the program. And then it kind of went on because it was blowing medication out of the water, frankly. We were getting much better success with it than medication. So we began making it kind of primary. And quickly, we were working with other disorders. So 85% of people with ADD have comorbidities. And they have other things, 85%. So we were working with depression and oppositional defiant disorder and OCD and anxiety, lots of post-concussion syndrome. And the neurofeedback was just getting spectacular results with all of those things as well. So some of the people coming for the other disorders felt uncomfortable coming to an ADD clinic, so we added the name Scottsdale Neurofeedback Institute. And we called it an institute because we were training professionals in the field, we were doing research, probably made 40 presentations at international conferences on the subtypes of anxiety or depression or whatever. Lots of different things. They get curious about a disorder and have to dive in and figure it out and then move on to the next. So for like the last 25 years, we've been working with a wide range of disorders, and we just have to kind of keep stretching the envelope. It ends up with working with things we couldn't imagine. We have a fellow with cerebral palsy that's now out of a wheelchair and walking. We have people that have had strokes, haven't spoken a word in 7 years, and were speaking beautifully. I told them we couldn't help initially, but they said, look, we want to give it a try, so we did. So it's just expanded and expanded. And then more and more people have wanted to learn from what we're doing, so I've ended up becoming an international speaker and spoken in a number of different countries to present the research we're doing and the research in the field. Now, along the way, because of all the research and conferences and lecturing, I was invited to run for president of the organization, the International Society for Neurofeedback and Research, and somehow won that, and later went on to be president of the Neurofeedback division of the Association of Applied Psychophysiology and Biofeedback. Then about 7 years ago, was invited to be on the International QEEG Certification Board. So it's the only board in the world that certifies doctors and clinicians in doing brain mapping and neurofeedback and writing reports. So I've been part of that team for at least the last 7 years, where we've refined the test and developed standards and found ways to spread knowledge and information about brain map-based neurofeedback. So it's been just an amazing trip, learning all these things and being able to help people in ways that we couldn't have helped. So interestingly, neurofeedback treats pretty much all the treatment-resistant disorders, like about a third of people or more with depression are treatment-resistant, but neurofeedback works. And treatment-resistant OCD, it helps hugely. So pain, we recently discovered that we can train the pain network in the brain, which has about an 85% success rate with pain. That's something we'd never even imagined. So it's been a fun trip, and the team and I just enjoy coming to work and enjoy seeing people improve and thrive and change their lives dramatically. So we certainly encourage others to join on this journey and this experience with neurofeedback. Clinicians, patients, it's really worth exploring. You'll be amazed at how much it can be a blessing.
Hi, my name is Kathy Hendricks, and I'm a board-certified neurofeedback technician. I work at the ADD clinic in Scottsdale, Arizona. I would like to just first welcome you to your journey into neurofeedback. We are very excited to be a part of that journey with you. A little bit of background information about myself. I'm originally from Florida. I was born in a small beach town called New Smyrna Beach, which is more commonly known today as Shark Bite Capital of the world. However, I have never seen a shark, nor have I been bit by one. So feel free to go into the waters in Florida. We did enjoy growing up on the beach. We had a lot of fun surfing and skiing in the river, in the ocean, building bonfires on the beach, and all the fun things that go along with it. I have been married for a number of years, and I have 3 beautiful children. I have a daughter who also has 3 girls who live in North Carolina. And I have 2 sons. One lives in Oklahoma and the other lives in Hawaii. My family, which is all from New Smyrna, basically we kind of spread out after my generation. My brother also lives in Hawaii. I live in Arizona, so we ventured out of Florida to get to see the rest of the country. I began my neurofeedback experience working at a neurofeedback clinic in Jacksonville, Florida. I began as the office manager. I had worked in the medical field for most of my young adult life, and I had a great opportunity as an office manager. So I began working there, doing billing and scheduling and everything an office manager does. And I started noticing that people coming in for neurofeedback was nothing I had ever seen before. I saw people coming in one way and they left a much better way. The reward was amazing. So I became interested, and I asked my boss if I would be able to learn how to do neurofeedback myself, and she was very excited and very supportive of me learning neurofeedback. So I began to train and learn, and it was a little bit difficult, I have to say, which is one of the reasons why we are making this training program, to offer a more structured program for people to learn how to do neurofeedback. Nevertheless, I did learn. I had great support from my therapist that I worked with at the clinic in Jacksonville. And moving to Arizona, I became even much more supported in ways I could never have imagined. I took this job at the ADD clinic as a neurofeedback tech, moved all the way from Florida to Arizona with my husband and 3 dogs and 2 cats, all the way out here. And the benefits and the rewards of being here are indescribable. I have learned more than I could have ever imagined or dreamed, and am still learning and will continue to learn. This is an amazing program. We are very excited that you have taken this opportunity to learn about neurofeedback, the brain, the rewards that your own brain can give to you. We are very excited for you. Thank you so much for taking this information, learning it, and applying it.
Hi, my name is Dr. Virginia Hatch-Pigott. I'd like to introduce you to a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Danville, California. Growing up, I really enjoyed horseback riding, and horses still are one of my passions. I also enjoy gardening. I went to college at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo in Central California, probably one of the most beautiful spots in California. I really wanted to be a veterinarian because I had a great passion for animals since I was a young child, but during my time at Cal Poly, I decided to explore medicine and fell in love with medicine. I then attended the University of Hawaii in Honolulu and had my first child. After I had my first child, I decided that we needed more family support, so we moved to Iowa, where I completed medical school and then also completed a residency in pediatrics. I've been practicing pediatrics for about 25 years, and I can say that I absolutely have loved just about every minute of it. I have practiced in large corporate settings, military settings, small group practices, and I even owned my own private practice for a time in Kona. My journey into neurofeedback really started, I would say, years into pediatrics when I became very concerned about the worsening mental health of my patient population, along with the really difficult time that I had finding adequate psychiatric care and counselors for my patients. I oftentimes felt like I was a counselor and had extended visits with my patients, and oftentimes felt quite helpless. I became very adept at diagnosing and prescribing medications for ADHD, anxiety, and depression, but when things got more complicated, it became much more difficult. So during the pandemic, when my patient population was very low because kids were at home and not getting sick, I decided to go get my master's in social work, not knowing that my patient population's mental health was going to take a huge trajectory downward. I was getting my master's in social work. During that time, I read the book, The Body Keeps the Score. Actually, that was early in the pandemic. People had been telling me for a long time I needed to read that book. So I read the book, and I instantly knew when I completed that book, I have to learn neurofeedback. So I secured myself an internship at Scottsdale Neurofeedback Institute, the ADD clinic, with Bob Gurney, and the rest is history. I have been just immersing myself in the neurofeedback world in every way that I can, and I just firmly believe that this is a modality that can really impact not only children but adults that are struggling with mental illness. And it is my hope that we can bring this to a lot of underserved populations, including foster and adoptive children. So thank you so much for being here. We're excited and we're thrilled that you're starting on this journey.